Hello, so I'm seeing that a lot of people are still having problems with learning the game, so besides my normal let's play and the other guys I did for the game, I'll just do a separate series of guys that will mostly be explaining from the basics to the end game. So this will be the first video in that series, and guess what, this will be the basics. Now, what is the basic mission you have to do in the beginning of the game in order to learn the game and how to play it? Well, just choose a few corporations you like. If you don't know what to pick, just pick Realware, SBN and Com. And then whatever else you like over here, it doesn't matter, just don't pick that clan, they're bad, they're evil, or maybe you want to be evil as well with them. The point of this thing over here is you just click subscribe to basically highlight the faction you like, and you should do missions for them and help them in the galactic expansion. What you do is basically doing missions for them will increase their control over the solar system, meaning if you do a mission for Realware, they will gain, let's say, power or tech or even a completely new location. So as you can see, these guys managed to catch up the entire solar system because I helped them, sadly. But just keep in mind that every faction has its own specific technology. So now there's a new system in the game that is the chip system. So you'll have basic chips, advanced chips, and elite or high-tech or endgame chips. And beyond that, they'll also have their faction chips, which are beyond endgame or elite or high-tech chips. Meaning these things will unlock the faction-specific things like their armor or their guns, which is super strong compared to the other things. So while all of the factions will give you, let's say, mine chips or clash chips, basic, advanced, or high-end, high-tech item chips, only the factions can give you their faction chips, which means you either have to trade for them, 5% chance to get them, good luck, or if you fight against them. But for that, they need to have a very high tech level. Depending on their tech level, they'll unlock the chips sooner or later. So that's why you need to cooperate with a few factions to get all of their gear, but not just their gear, also their chips, their basic chips for everything, and also their faction chips. So this is, I think, what people get kind of wrong. It will be a very long time before you get your little hands on the production chips for the high-end stuff. Plus, you might just want a backpack, a buffalo backpack, a veteran unloading vest. Sadly, the more tech they get, the harder it is to get these items. So it's actually a lot easier to get, let's say, the buffalo backpack when it first appears into the trading screen, because it will be, let's say, 15% chance to get one. So that is going to be your basic goal. Also look at the cost of this thing. So a stationary turret is 1000 points or 1000 trade points or 1000 mission reward points. And this is also what they don't explain to you. So if you do this mission, let's say you'll get 5000 reward points, but that's a lot. It's actually going to be a lot less. You will get, let's say, 1300 reward points, right? Right. So that means you'll be able to get one item from the faction that is worth 1300 points. But since there are not many items that are exactly worth that much, you'll probably get, let's say, a pistol, 600 points, a sword, 400 points, and then for 300 you'll get another item or 200. Sometimes you'll also keep an excess of points, and that will keep with you. So this says 6 over here. This one says 3752. Why does it do that? I don't know. That's how the game works. Sometimes you don't get all of your reward in items after a mission, and the rest of the points are basically, let's say, kept for you in reserve. So if I do a single trade with this faction, I'll get all of the points at least. So that's how you get the rewards from some of the missions that are not very well explained. That's your goal. Also, let me remind you that all of these factions have gear that is comparable to what Realware has. So that means you will not be able to see all of the guns and all of the armor and all of the cool stuff unless every faction takes up to at least 10. Sometimes it's 9, sometimes it's 10. So that's why you should also help the other factions to rise up. So help the top 3 corporations rise up, and then you have to fight against them. So the other corporations can also get those items, and you can get all of the chips from everyone. And that's what I call you being able to produce endgame items. Doesn't really matter what they have, it's by rotation, and sometimes you can get very good trading items. I'll just make another video for the trading items because that's a much bigger subject. So now let's speak about a mission. Where should you do the missions first? Well, you should do them on Mars, Phobos, or Deimos. Why? Because there is no QuasiMorphosis, so there's no Q meter in the mission. So that means the missions are very easy because you don't get demons spawning and killing you. I'll not speak about what class you should choose because this is mostly dependent on the state of your game and what you want to play. But, you know, Percival the Magnificent is the best Tunnel King. So what should you take in a mission? Well, first of all, make sure all of the first 3 resistances have at least 20 to 30. So you'll probably want to mix and match armor. So I'll just give an example. Let me put all of this away so you can kind of see the thought processing behind it. So the blunt, the pierce, and the cut resist are going to be your basic damage. So this is done by all of the guns that do physical damage. The fire can be dealt by plasma or just normal fires or certain weapons. The cold can be done by weapons, I think also grenades and some of the other stuff. It depends on how you view things. Poison can be done by weapons, the poison thrower, the spiders and some other stuff. Shock, from what I know, maybe a few demons can do it, maybe one demon boss, and also these things, the AAV Supremacy and the AF Alpha. So it's not going to be one of those resistances that you'll come across very, very often. You might even ignore it for a big amount of time. But if you are fighting Encom, these guns will come up and they'll shred you. Beam is just beam weapons. Sadly, this is not very clearly explained right now. So as you can see, fire is also plasma, but beam will be done by the beam weapons, the energy weapons. Doesn't really say over here, does it? I guess we can take a look at the ammo and then it will be a little more clear. Even though this says it does poison damage, but on this weapon over here, it does lightning damage. Mostly it will be poison damage, but on the experimental guns that I show you, it will be the shock damage. The damage type is beam, so energy, anything with energy is beam. You have to look at the ammo to see what type of damage it does. And also there will be different types of ammo, as you remember. So the slugs will deal blunt damage, the flechette will deal piercing damage, this will deal cutting damage, and so on. So it's about the weapon and about the ammo in the weapon. Most of the times it doesn't really matter for the player, but if you can manage to control all of this, it will be much better. Usually the enemies will have the same type of ammo in their guns, but sometimes they can surprise you with flechette or other stuff, but that's a very rare case. So look at the ammo, what damage type it is, and then you can build up your resistances. Now, blunt, pierce, and cut are the basic armors and the basic resistance for the physical damage, which is probably 90% of the game anyway, so don't worry too much about it. As you can see, your Percy already has a few resistances, so just ignore that. I guess I can also show this on another character, because it's probably a little bit confusing if you do it like that. Let me see, a character that already has a class. Equipment, so it's 0, right? Right. Say you give them a pointsman. 866, that's not bad. And then you want something that is good for the basic 3 stats. Arbiter. Okay. Dress pants. Doesn't sound too nice, but probably has a breeze in them. So as you can see, we're building up a lot of resistance against cut, but not enough pierce and not enough blunt. So the most common type of damage will be pierce from small weapons, small arms, like the pistols or some of the assault rifles. It will be the .42 caliber bullets for the 9mm stuff. They don't really have bursting ammo, it will be piercing most of the time. Cut is for, of course, the shotguns, and then blunt will be for certain ammo types or for certain weapons, but it's not that often encountered. So you basically want to have, let's say, at least 13 pierce. So we'll try to find something that improves our pierce from what I have over here. Let's say we put this on. Let's search for a better helmet. As you can see, this is already a problem, because some of the armors will not have pierce attached to them, or some of them will just have other stuff. Do you really need this much resistance against normal enemies in the beginning? Nope. So let's say you put something, basically your beginning resistance should be something like this, except you want more pierce or more cut, because the shotguns will be shredding you. Remember, the shotgun will fire a few pellets. I think a shotgun will fire 4 pellets per shot, so that means you don't see the damage it deals over here. So 8 to 18, 4 times. So that means you get hit 4 times with this amount of damage. So if you have, let's say, 26 pierce, let's say you have 40 cut armor, and you'll be hit with 18 max damage 4 times, you'll not get a lot of damage done to you. And that's great because you'll not take a lot of damage. But remember that everything, the armor blocks damage up to 90%. So that means 10% of the damage will go through. So 4 pellets means 4 points of damage. So you'll still take 4 points of damage. It's a little weird, but that's how it works. So you'll always take some damage from the attack. So that means you can get wounded by anything in the game. So having a lot of armor is great. Also look at the crit damage. So that means if you get critted by this weapon, 18... let's just say you can get hit by a max of 26. So 26 is still very good, and I'll not get any damage done to me except the 1 point per pellet. But there will be other weapons. Let's say this one over here. That's 40 piercing damage, and I only have 26. So that means every time I get hit, I get 14 damage, right? Right, correct. But the crit damage is 200% on this weapon. So that means it can hit for 80 damage, and if you are going to get hit for 80 damage and you are going to absorb 26 or a little less than 26, because again it's 90% absorption, you're going to get hit very, very hard. So that's why sometimes it will feel like the weapons are hitting much harder than they should. And as you can see, the more advanced weapons will have a lot better crit damage. Now, it's going to be hard to protect against all of this, so just choose something that works for most of the things, like I said. This is a mission against SBN, my arch enemy. We'll still play with Percy, we'll still use his gear, just to prove the point, and also do a little bit of combat so you can understand how to move. Now, what should you take with you? Well, I recommend you also take a secondary weapon. One weapon is for close to mid-range combat, and the other one is for long-range combat, which will be a marksman rifle or whatever you have. The first can be a shotgun or any weapon you like, if you can upgrade it. Now, upgrading the first weapon is not really mandatory, but I recommend that you upgrade whatever you find. Don't upgrade it from the beginning of the game, just wait to see what you get. If you, let's say, get energy weapon and upgrade it, just know that the energy ammo is a lot more rare. So I showed you what is the more common ammo types, the 9mm, the .42 and the shotgun shells. So don't upgrade something that has a very hard ammo to find. Don't upgrade something that only fires 2 shots, that will be a waste as well. If you want to upgrade something from your starting weapons, it will be something with a lot of damage. I guess you can also upgrade the Eagle because it's a silenced weapon, if I remember correctly. That one, oh, the Silent Eagle is the silenced weapon. Or the Liberator M. It does a lot of damage per bullet. But if you upgrade the weapon, you actually lose this slot. Same goes for armor. If you upgrade an armor, you lose that slot. You only have a limited amount of slots, and later into the game, each upgrade will give you double the amount of stats. So I recommend you just upgrade any weapon you like to 10, and just don't upgrade anything until you get better chips. So what do you want to take in a mission? Well, this is the hard part of the mission, because like I said, you should have a primary weapon and a secondary weapon that will be a long range weapon. Some people will say melee, but come on, don't take melee. Shotgun or something automatic that can fire a lot of shots in case there's someone behind the corner. Now, I'll also show you what else you need to take in the first part of the game. That will be a stack of food, or actually take 2 stacks of food, because you never want to be left without food, because if you have enough food, or the food bar is highlighted, that means you heal 1 HP per turn. So food is basically healing, not just, you know, having to eat for nothing, it's healing, free healing. So definitely have food with you. Definitely have sorbent, because it heals most of the things, including alcohol addiction and some of the other stuff. Delicious sorbent. Probably tastes like cherries or something. Put it over here. Also remember that your vest will give you a bonus to the reload duration, but you need to put the ammo in the vest itself. So to get the -2 action point bonus, you need to put the ammo in the vest slot, otherwise you will not get the bonus. So 1 stack of ammo for each gun. And then, this is where things get a little tricky. You also need bandages. You should also take real bandages in the beginning of the game. They are pretty easy to make, bandages or splints. Let's say you put 5 splints over here. I will not go for the crafting, but you can craft a lot more of them, that will not be a problem. Also take a few gunsmith's box with you, if you have them. If not, yeah, don't worry, you'll make 1 or 2 in the beginning. So let's divide all of this. Let's say you take 2 with you. Take another stack of primary ammo. The 2 food, Moo because it offers 400 calories, the splint. And if it's a mission with QMorph meter, just take Cosmos or Morphine, but Morphine is a lot better to sell, so that's why I keep producing Morphine. Make a lot of Morphine because it's a lot better to sell. Also in the beginning I recommend you take a few medkits with you, just in case something bad happens. Remember that the medkits also lower the amount of pain you have. So if you're having problem with pain, or if you get stunned because of the pain, just carry some extra stuff with you, it'll be okay. Now, I already spoken about the upgrades and some of the other stuff, but this is your basic loadouts for the beginning of the game, either splints or bandages. And what do you need to collect from a mission? Well, first of all, you need to collect 20 rags, which you can use to bandage yourself, but you also need for later to make more bandages and stuff. Collect the weapon parts, because you'll also repair your weapon during the mission, and you might also need them for some other stuff. And then also the plastic, because you can use the plastic to make food. So these are the 3 things you should always take out of the mission with you. This is what you go into the mission with. This is the things you take out. And the rest of the slots will be reserved for very expensive equipment. What is very expensive equipment? Well, anything that is in a crate is worth taking back. Armor cases, stuff like this. Anything that is in a crate. And then something like the data miners, the 2 slots item, the cloning control equipment. Even though it seems like it's cheap, you'll need it for some ship upgrades. You can also disassemble it for some more rare materials, but just keep them and sell them if you need. Research stations, biowaste tanks, chemical processors, super expensive. Darknet units, communication modules, defibrillator, darknet units again. Again, everything that is in a crate, the Bane game, you can also disassemble them. Hydraulic pumps, anything that looks interesting or has a cool name. Don't disassemble anything. Quasi samples, QuasiMorphic data, very important to have these chips, and also the AI modules and some of the more rare stuff that is not even in my inventory over here. The welding machines are very important as well. And then you'll just have loot that is very good to have, but you can also sell it or find it later, like basically the high-tech stuff, like the transformers, the lens, the printed circuit boards, the lamps. The lamps are actually one of the most expensive junk item you can find in the game. As you can see, the cost of all of the other junk items is much lower than this. But this one is 33. Also take the capacitors, the ceramic plates, and some of the other stuff, because you need them to build your own stuff. So that's why some things will seem a little weak in the beginning, but later when you unlock a recipe for that, oh, it will be so much better. When you can look at, let's say, the armors, and you'll see that for the frame armor, you will need capacitor, wire, and armor plate. You can also take the armor plates. So just look at over here what you need to take from the mission. It will be okay, but again, don't stress too much about stuff like this, because it's not really worth it. You can also take more ammo if you don't feel confident. So now let's start the mission and we'll play a little bit. First of all, I like to talk about the cover system. That's one of the worst things that a new player will face. The cover system. Also, your map will be covered, but in my case the map is always covered. Now, weapons at some point will be able to pierce the walls. So most of the times it will be worth punching a hole in the wall. Okay, this is actually good, because even though I cannot fight, it's a good representation of the cover system. What is the cover system? The cover system works in mysterious way. Basically, to have cover, you need to be close to cover. These walls over here, the cover walls, are actually the best cover in the game. So if you are behind a wall and the enemy is not behind the wall as well, you can hit them super easy and you cannot get hit back. This is the extreme amount of cover. So some people will have a problem seeing what is cover. Well, you're in cover from these angles. I think you're in cover over here because this thing is over here. As you can see, it kind of is catching a part of the square. Again, the cover is not one of the most accurate mechanics in the game, but this might count as you are in cover because the shooting arc will pass through the cover. Here you will not be in cover, you'll be fully exposed anywhere here. But cover will only count if the angle of the bullet will go through the cover itself, if that makes sense. And this is the best cover in the game. What else counts as cover? Well, this is cover. So if I'm shooting from here at an angle where the enemy, if it shoots back, it will hit some cover, that will count as cover. Let me show you. This is I'm invulnerable over here. This thing can be destroyed, but it's almost impossible. And I actually have a better chance to shoot. Also, you can manually aim your shots in case you're having a shot, in case you're using a shotgun or something. So who is in cover over here? No one. This barrel doesn't count as cover. This doesn't count as cover. If this character was over here, it would count as cover, but it's not. As you can see, this is the best place to kill a hallway. Also, look behind. Look at all the places around you. What also counts as another hard cover? Well, this is also cover. The box is covered. So if someone arrives over here, we are in cover. They are not in cover. If the enemy is over here, we cannot shoot at each other. This is also hard cover. You cannot destroy it no matter how hard you try it. But you can destroy this. So an enemy might be in cover over here, but you can just destroy it. And then no more cover for them. About the looting, well, you can get naloxone and some of the other stuff. Don't just take the item, just disassemble them. Take the bandages, take some ammo if you need. But basically what you want to do is disassemble stuff to get the stuff I said. You can also keep a lot of springs because they'll be useful later for crafting weapons. But this is the annoying part of the game. Now you'll have to kind of see what you need. And I think it's a lot better to just disassemble everything. As you can see, we are getting some of the rare stuff that we need for later. Special Forces SBN, like that. You can also stockpile on a lot of this ammo. Then just disassemble for the fun of it. Now, let me show you another example of cover. We're in cover. We are in cover, the enemy is not in cover. How does this work? Well, simply put, at this point, if you have cover and the enemy has cover like this, kind of like a big dice throw, but I find it that you're more accurate if you shoot from behind the wall, even though the enemy technically has the same amount of cover as you. Don't mess around with the turrets, they're deadly. This also counts as cover, as you can probably figure out, but only if you have line of sight and if you can shoot them. So from here my shots will be 100% accurate, even though I'm not aiming at the thing. Plus the shotgun pellets will need to go somewhere in a direction, so that's why using automatics or the shotguns is so good right now, because the bullets will fly somewhere. Did you see that door open? There is an enemy over there. Okay, let's play around a little bit with the cover system. You cannot shoot because the enemy is over there. As you can see, it will hit completely the wall. So wait another turn. When it's like this, you almost have the best accuracy you can ask for. Again, just go over here. Don't face the enemy as soon as you see them. That's the biggest mistake you can make in a game like this, facing an enemy as soon as you see them. Also, you can stockpile on certain things and bring them back to the ship before you leave. Again, this is an upgrade thing. Getting a lot of ammo. And you should also play the game super slow, not like I'm playing it right now. This counts as cover, so let's wait until the enemy picks. Or he's just not paying attention. This can happen as well. Oh wow, I got one of these so early. Now, if you see something like this, it's just better to take cover and make sure you have a retreat. Also, look at this. Before you move, make sure you have 2 action points. Now, the action point system is not bad. Basically, if you do sneaking, you'll see that enemies are behind the door or whatever they are. So this is a great way to see if enemies are behind the door or next in the line. You can also switch back to 2 without many problems. The enemy is coming over here. The enemy. What is the point of doing the run mode? Well, this will consume more calories, so make sure you look at the calorie cost as well. Your accuracy will also be lower, then you cannot access inventory, so as you can see, you cannot loot. So I find that running mode is a bit annoying. Even though you have action points, you have an accuracy penalty, you cannot access your inventory. Too many bad things. In in the situations like this, I just recommend you take cover and wait. Now the enemy can shoot at me, so I just like to go back a little more. Not so bad. So it all comes down to how much you know about the game and when can you move and when you cannot move. Back over here. See, there's someone under the doors because I switched to stalking, and now I can open the doors and get shot at. Open the doors when you have 2 action points left, so you are left with 1 action point. In this situation, I just recommend you do a little bit of tactical retreat. Don't worry, I can take it. In this situation, I recommend you relax. And then you die because you're just running away. And this is the problem with most people that are doing something like this. As you can see, the wound system is super restrictive. So you first have to kill the enemy and worry about the wounds later. Even though you have a lot of armor, at some point you'll just encounter enemies that will bypass the armor or just critically hit you or die like that. In that situation, you are supposed to, again, be more careful when you open the door. Take cover and shoot an enemy. Never run away from an enemy, because the enemy will shoot you back even more. And what's even worse, if the enemy has line of sight of you, it will shoot you 2 times. So it's just better to get cover or just shoot the enemy as you see them directly. And just learn from your mistakes as much as you can, and then we'll speak about the classes and some of the other bonuses and some of the other stuff that we'll do. But I think that's enough for now. I think people will need to experiment a lot with the game, and they will need to find their favorite class, their favorite gear, their favorite stuff as well. Rats is a very good class, but I think people in the beginning of the game will not know how to play too well with them. So let's say I'm equipping this guy again. I just have a lot of stuff, it doesn't really matter what I put on him. Flame armor is great, Carnage armor is great, many things are great at this stage of the game. For the weapons, I just like my upgraded Jeff hammers and of course this stuff, so don't be too worried if you died. Also over there I could have used the medkits to heal, I could have done a lot of other things. But it mostly depends on how much you know about the game. I would have just killed them directly because I don't mess around with guys that have energy guns. But we'll speak more about this a little bit later. For now, just enjoy the game and make a little bit of practice with the basic, because in the beginning of the game you don't lose much except time.